a slightly different position. Is that quite a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, he's a top player. He can adapt to it. I just wasn't sure how much he would enjoy playing that role. You know, I think he wants to be between the sticks, you know, getting on the end of things. But it didn't look like that today. I mean, he was the best player on the pitch. You know, he got loads more room. He was, like you say, hugging the touchline, but that gave him more room. He was going past people on the outside. He was coming inside, playing 1-2s. It was a fantastic performance from him. And I'm not sure if he'll stay there for the whole season, but he's more than capable of doing that.
What did you like most about what you saw of Sterling tonight?
Well, he took the manager's tactics onto the pitch. I think we look at the position here. You know, he was asked to play outside the block. So if we see this position here, if you look, this is what Red Bull are going to do to you. They try and squeeze you in. So if you just pick up Sterling here, he was constantly backing off and just giving his team width all the time. You know, here he is calling for the ball. And now what does that do? As he gets the ball, it makes the distance between the right back, stretches their back four, and again the runners were going in, you know. But this is what Sterling gives you. He doesn't go down the outside. A lovely ball inside, and again there's that space. And whenever he plays from out wide, but if he sees space like that, he will attack it. He attacks it again, gets in the box, doesn't get his shot off, you know. But fair play to Red Bull, they were getting the blocks in. But he was holding his position very, very well. Again, he's slightly inside now. And whenever he's in this position, he's only got one thought in his head. Let me attack that space.
And you talk about him being a wing-back. That's not where a wing-back would stand. He's literally the highest man forward.
Yeah, and his speed is exhilarating when he gets in here and he stands people up. Crouchy don't. I mean, he comes in, gets a little bit of quality there. Doesn't come to nothing, but he was always the outlet. He was always, and this is here he is there, pick him up on the bottom of your screen, coming into position. Just downside as it goes into Havertz. Watch this. This is another thing which he'll benefit from this position, because if you pick him up here, you know, you're going to be able to creep in. You're going to be able to creep into this area of the pitch. Pardon me. As the cross comes in, just watch him now. He actually makes his run, doesn't come in, stops it, makes the run again, gets good connection. You know, so he was disciplined in his role and he was getting a lot of joy. Here's the goal. This is the perfectly alluded. Look, other side of the pitch now. Watch Reece James. We pause it there. Again, there's that distance between the centre half and the right back. Mason Mount on this occasion, he makes a great run down there. Feeds him in, Crouchy. And then Mason Mount, he does what all good players do. They recognise when they've got the numbers up. You know, he knows he needs to feed it into that area. Eventually, there's the goal scorer in the back end of your screen there. But he just feeds it in, gets a little bit of luck. But when you've got numbers up, lovely touch and it's finished. He took to the role like he's been playing it for his whole life. He was outstanding.
And I guess it's easy for us to say they lacked cutting edge. But Crouchy, how do we get more goals, or how do they get more goals out of this Chelsea side? Is it easy to just say, look, it's cutting edge, or do the forward players require better service as well?
Yeah, I do think that. I think it's a bit harsh. Aubameyang looks a bit out of sorts the last two games, but I do think that they've got to play to his strengths. I think they've got to learn. I think it was one time, I think Jorginho played a lovely ball over the top. Aubameyang was so quick, great movement, but it was a bit few and far between. I felt a bit sorry for him at times. It actually looked better when Broja came on.
So looking forward, what do you think Graham Potter will want to work on first ahead of the upcoming Premier League game?
He'll carry on working on the foundations of how he wants to play, his system, his fundamentals. He'll carry on working for that. In terms of what Crouchy's saying, what you are seeing about how can you get the cutting edge, there's no doubt all of these players are quality and they can score goals. Aubameyang scored hundreds of goals in his career. Sterling, there's goals in the team. It's the little bit of confidence, and that you have to build that up on the training ground by drilling them every day, finishing sessions. Maybe Hakim Ziyech needs a little bit of an arm around his shoulder. You know, Pulisic, the lads who've been on the peripheries, because one of them's got to step up and put the ball in the back of the net sooner rather than later, because this quality of players won't keep missing this amount of chances consistently.
And you say he needs to put his arm around them, give them a bit of confidence. If anyone can do that, it's a manager like Graham Potter, because that's what his style is. He's a great man manager.
Yeah, of course. You know, he's tactically very aware. I think he's the best part of him for me is the way he adapts. I think, you know, as he touched on today, he thought that he'd play with Reece James and Sterling getting the space today. But that's not to say it's not going to stick to that rigid for the rest of the season. He could change that next week to accommodate a different side.
Okay. And let's not forget, it's back-to-back games against AC Milan, starting with a game here at Stamford Bridge. I know that the fans will definitely...
We will. He was brought here to be the focal point, the star of the club. He's already delivering. He was one of the bright sparks tonight. He's been one of the only bright sparks at the start of the season. For sure, Raheem Sterling's going to be a big, big player for this club.
The warning signs were there, though, weren't they, from Salzburg? Because they just looked fearless out there against Chelsea, even when they were behind, and it was Okafor that scored the equaliser.
Yeah, they didn't carve too many chances out, but he had a little chance just before that, a bit of a warning sign. Joe was squirming in his seat for a little bit. And then once, you know, Chelsea don't put the game to bed, and this was the first chance, a nice little glancing header, and just sort of warning signs came apparent. If you don't take your chances, you know, in the Champions League especially, you might get punished, and that's what happens. I think it's Raheem Sterling on the far side here gives it away, but they still get bodies back, which I think the attitude was spot on today. They still get people behind the ball, but then from there they just missed 2 or 3 tackles. I think there's a tackle that comes in there, Cucurella misses that one, they missed that one in midfield, and then as it breaks down here, Thiago's in control of that. He dives in with 2 feet and misses it again, and as switches off at the back post, and he just gets in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Thiago Silva would have done this thousands of times. He just gets it wrong on the night. He goes with a 2 feet. He needs to go with his left foot. Aspie just a little bit sleeping at the far post, and then he comes in. It's Okafor. It's a lovely fit. He was a constant threat. He kept Chelsea honest all night because he picks up good positions. He runs in behind, and at his age, he's going to be a massive player in the future.
Really good movement as well, you know, because Aspilicueta just looks back, and that's when he goes. Just to that split second, just to get that yard on him, and that's how he scores.